Hello and welcome back to Hearthstone. My name is Jockeybane and I'll be running you through my favorite deck that I have created. Now, when it comes to Hearthstone lately after the release of Goblins vs. Gnomes, net decks are everywhere. Everyone who's not running Mech Mage or Control Warrior or Ramp Druid is finding themselves in a bit of a tough spot lately. But I think that my deck, which I have named the Sin of Wrath, aka the Control Warlock, can suffice in this new meta. So when you think of Warlock, at any time, even before GVG or Naxxramas, there were two types of Warlocks, and in some ways there still are. You got the Zoolock, which is your standard get as many minions on the board as possible to deplete your hand and then use Doom Guards and Soulfires, which don't have any downside since they're the last cards in your hand, to just rush your opponent down. And then you got the Handlock, which is basically the opposite. Get as many cards in your hand to play as many big minions as possible to rush your opponent down. But I think that a lot of people look at a lot of the Warlock cards as being generally worthless and pretty much not worth your time. And I think that a lot of these cards can be used to an extremely great effect if coupled together into what I like to call the Sin of Wrath, aka Control Warlock. So, most decks have a goal, and so does this one. So, the goal of this deck is to use just this overwhelming board presence, or just being able to tech your opponent out so hard that you can just remain on the board for an eternity until you can get big minions out, like here you see Dr. Boom and Ragnaros, to just put these enormous threats on the board. You can think of this like Control Warrior. However, Control Warrior being a bit more potent in the kill stage. So, why pick a Warlock for this class? Why not Rogue or something? Like, you look at Warlock and say, well, for control, I'm going to want something that keeps me alive and puts me ahead. But when you look at Warlock, you see his hero power is deal 2 damage to himself. And that's not very good at staying alive. I mean, it kills you in 15 turns, and you're versus a hunter. If you use your hero power and he uses his, he kills you in 7 turns alone, which isn't good. So, a quick looking at the game real fast. I didn't plan for the Lotheb tech. I was hoping that I could possibly get in a Shadow Flame if he would have played, Muster for Battle, so that I could get a possible board clear. I have to play Big Game Hunter or my hand will overflow. Playing the Sunwalker gives me a nice board clear in the form of hitting it and then Shadow Flaming. Unfortunately, he does trade away the recruits, so it doesn't give me the recruit kills, but in the end it all works out. So, talking about the deck, I have the deck list on the side, and I will put the full deck list in the description. I will not link it, I will put it as a sort of list, if you don't mind that. I can make a deck online later, but I will be using this deck a lot more in the future. I hope to tweak it. So, looking at the list, of course, you're going to look at my hand, and you're going to look at the 6th card and say, what is this card? And it's Sacrificial Pact. What is Sacrificial Pact doing in a legitimate deck? So, when I first thought of Control Warlock, back in the day, Mal'Ganis didn't exist, and what did exist was Lord Jaraxxus. And Lord Jaraxxus had this funny thing where he would turn your hero into a demon, so that should the enemy turn himself into Lord Jaraxxus, you could kill him with Sacrificial Pact instantaneously. And truth be told, this is how I won my first Hearthstone tournament. Is in the last match I was going 1-1, and right when my opponent was about to pretty much lock down the game, the lockdown play was playing Jaraxxus, and then I sack-packed him. It's just an unexpected card that you may think, oh, well, if he's not a handlock, or he's not running Jaraxxus, the more important thing, this card's going to be useless and it's going to stick here for the entirety of the game. But now I think this card has a lot more potential with the release of the Void Callers, and Mal'Ganis. So in this game, you're going to see a lot of play with that, but I'll talk back to it when it gets to that point. So then, going down the list, you have one Mortal Coil, good early game clear, that one damage that you might need. Power Overwhelming, good tech with Shadow Flame. Double Dark Bomb is a necessity in updated Warlocks, as it is a Frostbolt without that added spice, but seeing it's on a class that doesn't rely along spell damage, I can see it being very, very effective. And it is. It's used in pretty much every single Warlock deck ever. Ironbeak Owl allows me to get some silence off on Sludge Belchers. Sludge Belchers are an enormous problem. He gets me with the Black Knight, which isn't very good in this situation. But after the Ironbeak Owl, we got the Recombobulator. I'll talk about this when I get to later cards. Actually, no. So, the Recombobulator is a very interesting card in the fact that it has a lot of value to it, and also can be played as a 2-drop. However, I don't like to play it as just this vanilla 2-drop, as it has a lot of potential outside of being a 2-drop. In this game in particular, you'll see why this card is so useful in getting me to where I need to be. So Sense Demons helps me get the Void Callers and the big demon legendaries like Jiraxxus, as he is here now. Then we got the Big Game Hunter, which is a necessity for any deck, but the popularity of Dr. Boom. And then we got 2 Shade of Naxxramases. Well, for the reason of having 2 Shades is because I have 2 Shadow Flames. With Shade of Naxxramas, you may think, well, if you want a Shadow Flame target, might as well put an Ancient Watcher. But I don't really have any other card that techs into Ancient Watcher except for Shadow Flame. And it will just sit there. So I have these Shade of Naxxramases to be this slowly escalating amount of damage that can tee up. Here you see Sacrificial Pact. I use it to pull out Jiraxxus onto the field and heal myself so that I don't die to True Silver Champion. Max of the deck, I have 1 Hellfire, which is good for getting rid of especially the Muster for Battle Quartermaster combo and a lot of early Mech Mage shenanigans. Then we've got, of course, 1 Implosion, which synergizes well with Mal'Ganis and somewhat Jiraxxus, but it also gives me that extra pieces of 1 damage stripped within there. So right here, you're going to see why Recombobulator is in this deck. So right here, I'm looking at the board and saying, well, if I don't get Tyrion Fordring, I'm going to have to Deathwing, because if I don't Deathwing, then he's going to basically kill me with almost anything. But thankfully for me, Sylvanas pulls off the miracle, gets the 6-1. So I recombobulate Jiraxxus, and boom, Mal'Ganis. So with Mal'Ganis, I can pull off the free tap, which gives me my Mal'Ganis, and a worthless imp, which gets buffed by the current Mal'Ganis. So I think that this is just a brilliant strategy that should Jiraxxus get on the field, you can put him into something a lot more useful than a 315 should his health get low from killing 3 drops. Right here, you can see that another brilliant play is that the follow-up to Dead Mal'Ganis is another Mal'Ganis. He never saw it coming. But then going on in the deck list, got the Kazan Mystic, which is just a tech against hunters and mages, 2 Void Callers, 2 Antique Healbot Sludge Belcher, 2 Siphon Soul, Sylvanas, Dr. Boom, Twisting Nether, Ragnaros the Fire Lord, Jiraxxus, Mal'Ganis, and Deathwing. Deathwing is another one of those cards. But Deathwing and Twisting Nether, in fact, are just these cards that say, well, this card is going to make me win. Out of any card in my deck, if things go super badly, they got enormous things on the board. I didn't find my Shadow Flames. I have 2 complete board clears that can just say, here, I win unless you can deal with this. And oftentimes I do win. But other than that, that's about it. Thank you for watching this episode of Control Warlock. I will hope to get more interesting videos of this deck in the future. Thank you, and goodbye.